The control room of the star outpost was quiet, filled only with the soft hum of machines. Stars glittered beyond the glass windows, distant and cold as ships passed in the dark. Sierra, a young alien girl with silver eyes and smooth green skin, sat at her post. She was new to this job, radar duty. It was long and boring, watching for signals that rarely came. Her clawed fingers tapped the console lazily as she yawned. Another shift, another night of nothing. The only excitement came from watching freighters crawl across her screen, ships that carried ore or food between the colonies. Everything predictable, everything safe. Then it happened. A faint blip appeared at the edge of her radar. At first, Sierra thought it was just a glitch. She leaned closer, adjusting the dials. The blip pulsed again, steady, strong, and unlike anything she had ever seen. Her eyes narrowed. This can't be right. She whispered, her console beeped. A code flashed across the screen, identifying the ship's design. Sierra froze. The word on the display was one she had only heard in bedtime tales and the whispered warnings of elders. Human. Her chest tightened. Humans were not real. They were myths, stories of monsters that burned planets and vanished into legend centuries ago. No one had ever seen them. No one believed they still existed, yet the signal pulsed again. Closer, stronger. Sierra's hands shook as she grabbed the comm. Control, this is Radar Station 3. I'm detecting something unusual, possible human signature, silence. Then laughter crackled back through the comm. You've been awake too long, Sierra. Humans are stories. Everyone knows that. I'm telling you, it's real, she insisted, her voice sharp with fear. The code matches. The shape matches. It's a human ship, her supervisor sighed. Keep monitoring. I'll alert command if it persists, but don't stir panic over bedtime stories. The comm cut out. Sierra's heart raced. She turned back to the radar. The blip was moving fast now, cutting through space with speed no alien ship could match. Her breathing quickened. She pressed every scan she had. The data came back clear. Old-style thrusters, dense hull plating, and a heat signature that screamed of human design. It's real, she whispered. It's really real. The ship drew closer until it left the edge of the radar and entered the visual range of the outpost. Sierra's silver eyes widened as her screen lit up with an image. It was massive, dark, and scarred from countless battles. Strange markings ran across its hull, worn but still clear. Letters of the human language, a language she had only seen carved into ancient ruins. She covered her mouth with her hand. A human ship here, alive. The outpost alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the control room. Others rushed in, shouting, staring at the same impossible image on the screens. One officer gasped. It can't be. Another whispered. The legends are true. Panic rippled through the station. Some shouted to call the fleet. Others wanted to run. But Sierra couldn't look away. She stared at the ship, her mind spinning. She remembered the stories told to her as a child. Stories of humans who were fearless, who fought entire empires, who disappeared when no one could defeat them. Stories of fire and survival. And now one of their ships hung outside her outpost, silent and waiting. Suddenly, her console beeped again. A signal. Sierra's eyes widened. The human ship was broadcasting a message. Her hands trembled as she patched it through. The voice that came across the speaker was rough, deep, and strange, but the words were clear enough to chill her blood. This is Captain Elias of the Terran ship Resolute. If anyone can hear this, humanity has returned. The room went silent. Every alien officer stared at the console, their faces pale. Sierra's heart pounded. The myths were alive. The humans were real. And she was the first to see them. The control room buzzed with chaos. Officers shouted over one another, their silver eyes darting between the radar and the massive human ship on the screen. The alarms wailed, painting the chamber in red light. Sierra sat frozen at her console, her claws gripping the edge so tightly her knuckles hurt. The voice still echoed in her ears. Humanity has returned. Her supervisor slammed a hand against the console. Cut the signal. Scramble communications before it spreads to the colony. But sir, another officer stammered, that voice, those markings, it's real. That's a human ship. Humans are dangerous, the supervisor barked. If they survived all this time, then they've been hiding, waiting. We must alert the fleet at once. Arguments exploded around the room. Some officers demanded they attack immediately to prove strength. Others insisted they flee before the humans destroyed them all. A few whispered that maybe the ship was peaceful, but their voices were drowned out by fear. Sierra's heart hammered. She couldn't take her eyes off the image of the ship, scarred, heavy yet steady, like a survivor that had crossed centuries. The supervisor turned sharply toward her. "Sierra, you were the first to detect it. What do you think?" She froze. Every face turned toward her. Her throat tightened. She swallowed. "I think it's real. It's not a trick, but..." Her voice softened, almost hesitant. "The ship didn't fire. It only sent a message. Doesn't that mean something?" Silence fell. For a moment, no one spoke. Then laughter erupted. A tall officer sneered. "Listen to the child. She thinks the humans are here to talk. Next, she'll say they want to share tea." Others joined in with harsh chuckles, but Sierra didn't back down. The ship could have attacked already, but it didn't. If they wanted us dead, they'd have fired the moment they arrived. Her words hung in the air. The laughter faded, replaced with uneasy glances. The supervisor rubbed his forehead, exhausted. "Naive. Humans are patient hunters. We cannot risk mercy. Command will send the overseer to deal with them." The overseer. The name chilled the room. He was the ruler's iron hand, the one who crushed rebellions and silenced threats. If he came, there would be no talks. Only fire. Sierra's chest tightened. She wanted to protest, but fear held her tongue. Later, when her shift ended, she wandered the quiet corridors of the outpost. The walls seemed to close in around her. Everywhere she went, she heard whispers. "The humans are back. The myths were true. We're all doomed." Some spoke in awe, others in terror. But all believed the same thing. The return of humans would change everything. Sierra stopped at a window overlooking the void. The human ship hung there still, silent against the stars. She pressed her hand against the glass, her silver eyes narrowing. "They don't look like monsters," she whispered. That night, she couldn't sleep. The human voice echoed in her mind. Rough, strange, yet not cruel. She remembered the words. "If anyone can hear this, humanity has returned." Why say that unless they wanted to be heard? The next day, the overseer's fleet arrived. Black warships surrounded the outpost, their cannons glowing with power. Fear gripped every officer, every worker. The overseer himself arrived in person, his dark armor gleaming, his presence heavy as iron. He spoke only once as he looked upon the human ship through the glass. "Prepare to destroy them." Sierra's heart clenched. No questions, no parley, no hesitation. She wanted to scream that it was wrong, that the humans had not attacked, that they had only spoken, but her voice caught in her throat. She was just a radar operator, young, unimportant, yet deep inside a spark ignited. She had seen the signal first. She had heard the humans' words, and she knew this wasn't just fear. It was a chance to learn the truth of the myths. As the overseer's fleet charged their weapons, Sierra whispered to herself, "I have to find a way to reach them before it's too late." The overseer's fleet loomed like black knives against the stars. Their cannons glowed with rising energy, each one powerful enough to rip a station apart. Inside the outpost, the atmosphere was thick with dread. Sierra sat at her console, her silver eyes locked on the radar screen. The human ship still floated there, unmoving, silent after its first transmission. Her claws tapped nervously on the controls. "All units, prepare weapons," the overseer's voice thundered through the comm. "On my command, we erase the myth once and for all." Officers barked confirmations. Crews scrambled. The fear in their voices was clear, but none dared question him. Sierra's throat tightened. If they fired, everything would be lost. She remembered the human's voice, rough, tired, but alive. They had not come to kill. They had come to announce. Her supervisor leaned over her shoulder. "Keep your focus, girl. Track their movements." "Yes, sir," she muttered, forcing calm. "Track their movements." "Yes, sir," she muttered, forcing calm. But inside her mind raced. She couldn't just sit here and watch history burn. When her supervisor turned away, she slid her hand beneath the console and pressed a hidden switch. The small transmitter she had secretly repaired weeks ago hummed to life. It wasn't connected to the main comms, so it wouldn't be traced easily. Her claws trembled as she adjusted the frequency. Human tech was old, forgotten by her people. But she remembered the fragments she had studied in the archives, the dead codes carved into ruins. She prayed she had the right one. The overseer's countdown began. "Weapons. Charged." Sierra whispered into the transmitter, her voice shaking. "Human ship, this is Sierra of Outpost 3. Do you hear me?" Please respond. Static filled her earpiece. Nothing. Her chest clenched. 9. The overseer's voice boomed. She tried again, louder. If you can hear me, don't fire back. They will destroy you if you fight now. Please, just answer. 8. Still silence. Her eyes burned with desperation. 7. Her claws dug into the console. She shut her eyes and whispered, please. Prove they're wrong about you. 6. The static broke. A voice rough but steady came through. This is Captain Elias of the Resolute. Who are you? Sierra gasped, nearly falling from her chair. You're real. You actually heard me. 5. Yes, she stammered. I'm Sierra. They're about to fire on you. You have to move. 4. Elias's voice was calm, almost too calm. If they fire, we will survive. But will you? Her throat went dry. He was worried for her. 3. No time, she cried. Go now. 2. The human's voice grew sharp. Don't worry, Sierra. We didn't come here to die. The overseer raised his hand. Fire! The fleet unleashed their cannons. Blazing beams tore across the void, converging on the human ship. The outpost shook as the energy ripped through space. Officers shouted, screens flashed with overload warnings. But when the light cleared, the human ship was gone. The overseer snarled. Where is it? Scanning! Officers cried, panic in their voices. But the radar showed nothing. No debris, no signal. It was as if the ship had vanished into thin air. Sierra's silver eyes widened. They jumped, she whispered. But how? No one can jump inside a gravity field. The overseer slammed his fist against the console, rage boiling. Find them. Search every sector. The fleet scattered, hunting shadows, but Sierra sat frozen, her heart racing. She had spoken to them. The myths were real. Humanity was real, and they had listened. When her shift ended, she slipped quietly through the corridors, her transmitter hidden under her cloak. She reached the window overlooking the stars, pressing her hand to the glass. Captain Elias, she whispered. Where did you go? A soft beep came from her earpiece. The voice returned, faint but clear. We're still here, Sierra, watching. Don't be afraid. Her breath caught. They hadn't left after all. They were hiding, and now, she was their only link to this world. The outpost felt different after the attack. The air was heavy, thick with fear and whispers. Soldiers patrolled the halls with rifles drawn. Officers moved with nervous urgency, their eyes darting to the shadows. But more than fear, there was fury. The overseer had failed to destroy the humans, and he would not rest until someone paid for it. Sierra sat at her console, pretending to study the empty radar. Her claws tapped nervously against the surface. Every few seconds she glanced toward the stars, wondering if the Resolute was still out there. Cloaked in some way she couldn't understand, in her ear, the faintest static whispered from the transmitter she kept hidden in her cloak. She had turned the volume low, terrified someone might overhear. But just knowing the humans were close filled her chest with warmth. They hadn't abandoned her. The overseer stormed into the control room, his dark armor gleaming under the red lights. His presence silenced the chamber instantly. Officers bowed their heads, their voices dying. His visor scanned the room. Someone warned the humans. His voice was low but dangerous, like a blade pressed against the throat. They should have been ash. Instead, they escaped. That means one of you betrayed us. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Officers exchanged fearful glances. Sierra's claws dug into her console. He knows. The overseer stepped closer, pacing like a predator. I will find the traitor. I will burn them alive before this crew. His visor glowed faintly as he pointed at each officer in turn. Until then, no one leaves this outpost. No transmissions. No unsupervised duties. Her supervisor cleared his throat nervously. My lord, perhaps it was human trickery. They are myths for a reason. Their technology. The overseer cut him off with a sharp gesture. Excuses. His visor turned toward Sierra, lingering just a moment too long. She forced herself not to flinch, not to lower her gaze. Finally, he turned away. Double the scans. Triple the patrols. And if the humans dare to show themselves again, I will tear the truth from their corpses. He left the chamber in silence. Sierra let out a slow breath, her heart pounding in her chest. For one terrible moment, she thought he had seen through her. That night, she hid in the empty maintenance bay, her transmitter pressed tightly in her claws. Captain Elias, are you still there? She whispered, Static, then his voice, low but steady. We're here. What's happening? Her voice cracked. The overseer suspects a traitor. He looked right at me. If they find out... Elias didn't hesitate. Then stop contacting us. Stay safe. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. No, if I stop, they'll destroy you. They'll destroy everything. I can't let that happen. There was a pause. Then his voice softened. You're risking your life for us, Sierra. Why? Her claws tightened on the transmitter. She searched for words, but only one came. Because I want to know the truth. I was told humans were monsters. But your voice? It doesn't sound like a monster. It sounds like someone who has suffered. Someone who survived. Silence again, but this time heavy with meaning. Then Elias spoke. You're right. We suffered. We were hunted, nearly wiped out. But we endured. And now we're back, not to rule, but to live. Sierra wiped her eyes. Then I'll help you somehow. Elias's voice grew firm. Careful, Sierra. If your overseer learns what you're doing, you won't survive. I know, she whispered. But if humanity has truly returned, I want to be part of it. Before Elias could answer, the door to the maintenance bay hissed open. Sierra froze, shoving the transmitter under her cloak. Her supervisor stepped inside, his eyes narrowing. What are you doing here? Her mind raced. I was checking the power cells. The overseer ordered everything double-checked, didn't he? He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Yes, he did. He turned and left, the door sliding shut behind him. Sierra collapsed against the wall, her heart hammering. That was too close, much too close, but the danger only deepened. The overseer was searching. The walls were closing in, and if she wasn't careful, her secret would be discovered. The outpost felt more like a prison with each passing day. Soldiers patrolled every hallway, their rifles ready. Officers whispered in corners, afraid of the overseer's wrath. Everyone lived under the same heavy truth. The humans were still out there, hiding in the dark, and the overseer would not stop until he crushed them. Sierra worked her shifts quietly, her silver eyes fixed on the radar. She tried to act normal, but every breath felt watched. Each time the overseer passed by, she forced herself to remain still, though her heart hammered like a drum. Then one evening, she overheard something she wasn't meant to hear. Her supervisor was speaking with another officer in the corridor. Their voices were low, but Sierra's ears were sharp. The overseer has ordered a false beacon prepared, the supervisor whispered. We'll disguise it as a distress call. When the humans come to investigate, the fleet will ambush them. A trap? The officer asked. Yes, and this time they won't escape. Sierra's blood ran cold. She stepped back quickly before they noticed her. A beacon. It was clever. So clever. The humans might believe it. And if they did, they would be slaughtered. She sat at her console for hours, her mind spinning. She could say nothing and let the overseer spring his trap, or she could warn the humans and, in doing so, reveal herself completely. That night, she slipped again into the maintenance bay, her claws trembling as she pulled out the hidden transmitter. Captain Elias, she whispered, static, then the familiar voice. We're here, Sierra, what's wrong? Her throat felt tight. It's a trap. They're setting up a false distress call to lure you in. If you respond, they'll have the entire fleet waiting. For a long moment, there was silence on the line. Then Elias spoke, calm but sharp. How do you know this? I overheard the officers. They were clear. Please, you have to believe me. I do, he said without hesitation. Her breath shuddered. Then don't come. Don't answer, Elias paused. We'll be ready. But Sierra, if you've told us this, then you've put yourself in danger. If they discover your secret, they will kill me, she finished softly. Yes, I know. Then why risk it? She gripped the transmitter tighter, tears burning her eyes. Because when I heard your voice, I realized something. You weren't what they said you were. You weren't a monster. And if I let you die in a trap, then I'll never forgive myself. You weren't a monster. And if I let you die in a trap, then I'll never forgive myself. The silence that followed was heavy. Then Elias's voice grew softer. You're braver than many humans I've known, Sierra. We owe you our lives already. Her chest tightened at his words. Suddenly, the door to the maintenance bay slid open. The overseer himself stepped inside. Sierra's blood froze. The dark figure filled the doorway, his visor glowing faintly. He said nothing at first, only tilting his head as though studying prey. What are you doing here, child? His voice was calm but cold. Her claws tightened on the transmitter hidden under her cloak. Checking the power cells, my lord." The overseer stepped closer, his armored boots echoing against the floor. "Strange. You've been found here before. Too many times." Her heart pounded. He stopped just a few steps away, towering over her. "I sense unease in you. Perhaps fear. Are you hiding something from me?" Sierra forced herself to meet his gaze, even though the visor gave back nothing but a reflection of her trembling face. "No, my lord. Only fear of failing my duties." For a long, terrible moment, the overseer was silent. Then he leaned down, his voice a whisper of steel. "Remember this. If I find the traitor, I will peel the truth from their flesh." He turned and left without another word. The door hissed shut. Sierra collapsed to the floor, shaking. Her claws clenched around the transmitter, her breath ragged. She had warned the humans. She had defied the overseer. And now, more than ever, she knew he suspected her. The false beacon would soon go live. The trap would be set, and unless she found another way, she would be caught in the middle, between the humans she wanted to protect and the overseer who wanted her dead. The beacon went live the next day. From the control room, Sierra watched the false signal pulse across her radar. It was crafted perfectly, disguised as a stranded freighter. Anyone who saw it would think civilians were in danger. The overseer stood tall at the center of the chamber, his black armor gleaming under the glow of the consoles. His voice was sharp and full of certainty. "When the humans arrive, we strike. There will be no escape this time." Officers nodded quickly, too afraid to argue. The fleet circled in silence, cannons charged, waiting for prey. Sierra sat at her console, her claws trembling against the controls. Her heart screamed at her to act, to shout, to confess what she had done. But if she spoke, she would be dead before she finished. Then her screen lit up. A new blip appeared, fast, steady, undeniable. The humans had come. Gasps filled the room. Officers leaned forward, their voices tight with excitement. "They've taken the bait." The overseer raised a hand. "Hold fire. Let them come closer." Sierra's chest tightened. She whispered under her breath, "No, no, don't." But the Resolute kept moving closer, drawn in by the beacon. The overseer's visor glowed as he stretched his hand forward. "Now, destroy them." Cannons blazed, filling the void with fire. Beams of plasma ripped toward the human ship. Yet when the light cleared, the Resolute was still there, shields shimmering blue against the impact. The overseer froze. Impossible. The ship moved with sudden, shocking speed. It dove between the fleet's lines, weaving in and out of cannon fire like a predator among prey. Weapons flared from its hull, missiles and railguns older than most civilizations in the galaxy. They tore into the overseer's ships, shattering hulls and scattering soldiers into space. The control room erupted in chaos. "They're breaking the formation. Shields failing. We can't track them." Sierra's silver eyes widened. The humans weren't just surviving, they were winning. The overseer slammed his fist against the console. "Concentrate all fire! Do not let that relic defeat us." But the Resolute was no relic. It was fury and survival forged into steel. Every shot was precise. Every movement was controlled. The myths were alive and they were terrifying. Sierra's console beeped. A message. Her claws shook as she opened it. The voice of Captain Elias filled her ears, calm even in the storm of battle. "Sierra, you were right. They laid a trap. But don't be afraid, we've faced worse than this. Tell me, can you help us turn the tide?" Her throat tightened. I don't know how. They're watching me." "You're inside their system," Elias replied. "If you can disrupt their targeting even for a moment, it will give us the opening we need." Her breath quickened. If she did that, everyone would know it was her. The overseer would kill her. But if she didn't, the humans might still fall. Her claws hovered over the console. Do nothing and live in fear. Act and become a traitor forever. The overseer shouted, "Lock every cannon. Fire on my mark." Sierra closed her eyes. She made her choice. Her claws flew across the console, sending a hidden pulse into the targeting system. At once, half the cannons flickered offline. Beams misfired, some turning against their own fleet. Confusion exploded across the room. "What's happening?" Officers cried. The overseer spun, his visor landing on Sierra. Rage boiled in his voice. Before he could move, the Resolute struck. Its railguns fired a volley that ripped through the lead warship, splitting it in two. The rest of the fleet broke apart, scattering in chaos. The overseer roared, slamming a fist into the console so hard it cracked. "Caesar!" Guards rushed toward Sierra. She stood, her heart racing, her transmitter clutched tight. For the first time, she didn't hide. "Yes," she shouted, her voice sharp and clear. "I warned them. I helped them. And I'll never stop." The guards seized her arms. Pain flared as they dragged her down, but for once she wasn't afraid. The overseer leaned close, his voice a hiss of steel. "Then you will die screaming, child." Before he could order her death, an explosion rocked the outpost. The wall shook, glass shattering. The Resolute appeared outside the viewport, its cannons glowing with power. And for the first time, the overseer hesitated. The control room was chaos. Smoke filled the air, alarms wailed, and sparks rained from shattered panels. The Resolute hovered outside the viewport like a predator in the dark, its cannons glowing, daring the overseer to make his move. Sierra struggled against the guards holding her arms. Her chest burned, but her voice was steady. "It's over. You can't win. The humans are stronger than your lies." The overseer turned his visor toward her, fury radiating from his armored frame. "Be silent, traitor. This is not finished." He raised his arm, about to order her execution, when the Resolute fired again. Its railgun blasts tore through the fleet outside, sending ships spinning into the void. The outpost shook violently as another Dominion vessel erupted in flames. The overseer snarled, "If they want you, they will watch you die." He drew his blade, a weapon of glowing plasma, curved and deadly, and stepped toward her. The guards shoved her to her knees, but before he could strike, the Resolute unleashed a new weapon. A piercing pulse of energy rippled through the outpost, knocking soldiers to the ground and shattering weapons in their hands. The guards dropped, stunned. Sierra gasped as her restraints snapped loose. Through the comm system, Captain Elias's voice thundered, "Stand down. We are not here to destroy your people. We are here to end the Overseer's reign." The Overseer roared in defiance, slamming his fist into the console. "Lies! Humans bring only fire and ruin." Sierra rose to her feet, her silver eyes blazing. "No, you are the ruin. You told us humans were monsters, but you feared them because they're proof your power is not eternal." For the first time, whispers filled the chamber. Officers and soldiers exchanged uncertain glances. The Overseer's control was cracking. He lunged at her, blade raised high. But before he could strike, the wall behind him exploded. The Resolute's boarding party stormed in. Armored humans, scarred but fierce, their weapons glowing. At their front stood Captain Elias, his eyes burning with determination. The Overseer turned, stunned by the sight. "You dare set foot here!" Elias fired, his blast knocking the Overseer back. Sparks flew as the tyrant's armor cracked. The room erupted. Soldiers lifted their weapons, but hesitation lingered. Their loyalty wavered, shaken by Sierra's words and the human's arrival. The Overseer rose again, staggering but unyielding. His voice shook with rage. "I will never bow to myths." Elias raised his rifle. "Then you'll fall to reality." They clashed in the center of the control room. Steel against plasma, myth against tyranny. Sparks filled the air as the Overseer swung his blade, each strike powerful enough to cleave steel. Elias dodged, fired, pressed forward. Sierra stood frozen, her heart pounding. She wanted to help, to act, but she was just a radar operator. What could she do? Then she saw the Overseer's console still active. Warnings flashed across its surface, controls to detonate the outpost's core. Her eyes widened. If he lost, he planned to take everyone with him. She sprinted to the console, her claws flying across the controls. "No," she whispered. "Not this time." The Overseer noticed her and roared, "Get away from that." His distraction cost him. Elias fired a final shot, striking the Overseer square in the chest. The tyrant staggered, his blade falling from his hand. With a final snarl, he collapsed to the floor, his armor hissing as it failed. Silence fell. The Overseer was dead. Sierra froze at the console, her hands shaking. She had stopped the detonation with seconds to spare. The outpost lived. Elias lowered his weapon and turned to her. For the first time, his hardened face softened into something like respect. "You saved them all." And into something like respect. "You saved them all." Sierra's breath shuddered. "No. We did." The soldiers of the outpost stood in shock. Some dropped their weapons. Others bowed their heads. The Overseer's shadow had fallen, and in its place stood something new. Fear and awe for the humans and respect for the alien girl who had dared defy tyranny. Elias extended his hand to her. "Sierra, you were the first to believe. Will you stand with us?" She stared at his hand. then at the stars beyond the viewport. The myths were no longer myths. Humanity was real, alive, and standing here in flesh and fire. She placed her hand in his. Yes, I'll stand with you. The dragons of rumor, the monsters of bedtime tales had become allies, and the galaxy would never be the same again. As the Resolute prepared to depart with its new ally aboard, Sierra looked back once more at her people. Some feared her, some admired her, but all knew the truth. The humans had returned, and nothing would stop what came next. The galaxy did not sleep after the Overseer's fall. News spread like fire across the systems. The humans had returned, and with them, a young alien girl who had defied her masters and stood at their side. Whispers of rebellion stirred in colonies long silent. Songs of courage were sung in markets and mines, and for the first time in generations, people dared to hope. Sierra sat aboard the Resolute, staring at the stars from its viewing deck. The ship hummed with old but powerful life, its engines carrying it farther from the Dominion's reach. Around her, humans moved with quiet efficiency, scarred soldiers, tired engineers, survivors all. Their faces were different from her people's, but their eyes carried the same fire. Captain Elias stood beside her, arms folded. You've done something no one thought possible, he said. You gave us a chance to be more than ghosts. Sierra lowered her gaze. But my people, many of them still fear you. They think humans will destroy everything. Elias's voice softened. Maybe some of us would have once, but we've learned. We don't want to rule. We want to live, same as you. Sierra's chest tightened. They won't believe that easily. Then we'll show them, Elias said simply. Their journey carried them to hidden outposts where the Dominion's grip was weakest. At each stop, whispers grew into murmurs and murmurs into support. Some aliens saw the humans and trembled, but others reached out, daring to believe the myths were not monsters after all. For Sierra, it was overwhelming. She was no longer a faceless radar operator. To some, she was a traitor. To others, a hero. Everywhere she went, people whispered her name. One night, she confided to Elias, I was just a girl who pressed a button. I never meant to start all this. Elias gave a rare smile. That's how change always begins. One choice, one voice, but the Dominion was not silent. The Overseer's death had shattered their control, but new warlords rose to claim his place. Fleets gathered, hungrier than ever to stamp out rebellion. And always their propaganda screamed the same lie. Humans are monsters, and those who follow them will burn. Sierra knew the war was far from over. On the eve of their next journey, she stood in the hangar bay, watching as humans repaired their battered ship. Sparks flew from welding torches. Engines roared as they tested their thrusters. It reminded her of the outpost. Only here, the work carried a purpose greater than fear. Elias approached her with a datapad. There's a world out there, he said. A colony your overseer kept under his boot. They've begged for help. If we answer, the Dominion will come for us hard, but if we don't, he trailed off. Sierra looked at the datapad. The names, the faces of the desperate colony filled the screen. Families, children, people like her, she clenched her fists. We go. We show them that myths can save lives, not just haunt them. Elias nodded. Then we go together. As the Resolute prepared to jump, Sierra took one last look at the stars. Once they had been cold and distant to her. Now they blazed with possibility. She whispered to herself, I thought humans were just a story. Now I am part of their story. The ship roared as it leapt into the void, carrying with it not just soldiers, not just survivors, but a new alliance, human and alien, bound by courage, defiance, and the dream of freedom. And across the galaxy, in hidden places and open skies alike, people began to whisper the same words. Humanity has returned, and with them, hope, hope.